What's up, Internet? You're tuning episode 93 of the Steam Deck Podcast, Flip Screen Games weekly gaming podcast, all about Valve's portable PC powerhouse, the Steam Deck. I'm your host, Pete and Bessie, joined today by my very good friend and co-host, Mr. Max Wright.
Ahoy, ahoy. How are
Oh,
we?
it's full steam ahead over here, Max.
It's full steam ahead. Here we go. What turned out to look like a bit of a sparse week has actually turned into a pretty fruitful one in terms
Yeah.
of.
I was pretty pleased, I gotta say, because in the run up to today, we were throwing around a bunch of like fun evergreen topics that we'll probably get into in the next couple of weeks now, if there isn't news. But yeah, we were right up to the line when we were trying to figure it out, and then we had a couple big pieces of news break just today. So, Max, why don't you kick off our first one because Elden Ring's
Absolutely.
DLC's coming out tomorrow, right? I know
So
you're
at the time
excited.
of listening to this, it will be out.
Of
I
course, right?
have had the shocking realization yesterday that or the day before I had to beat Moog, and I was like, yeah, I've done that. I've obviously done that, and then realized that was 2 New Game Pluses ago, and I hadn't done it on this save file.
Oh no.
So I've been going through the rigmarole of getting to him. I've just got to his palace. Um, so I think I need to either today or tomorrow at some point beat him. Then I can play the DLC. I'm very excited about it.
That's
However,
probably good for you anyway, right? Because you were just lamenting this when we were talking about DLC recently about when you get back into a hard games DLC and it's like, damn, like I suck now. Like my chops are totally
yes,
gone, right? Like,
I have had a chance to get back into the swing of things, but I have also like was a bit thrown in the deep end at like fighting a really, really hard boss to get something I needed to get to so and so. And like I did it. I picked it up pretty quickly, luckily. Um,
pro
but yeah, I'm
gamer.
ready to fight what is going to be a very hard boss to then get into the DLC. But there might be some issues if you're trying to play the DLC on Steam Deck because they released a patch for Elden Ring sort of before the DLC just to sort of like enable it, and also there's a few features they've added to the game that they're actually going to sort of be backdated um, to the main game um, because they're just sort of little quality of life things. So I'll sort of go over a couple of the key patch notes before I get into the Steam Deck related stuff. So there's 5 new hairstyles. All right. Um, there's just a couple of little fixes and stuff.
Gotta lead off with
Uh,
the most exciting news. We've got 5 new
yeah.
hairstyles, baby.
Yeah, there's new stuff with summoning pools. I think summoning pools are you can sort of set. I can't remember what these are actually. It's been a few years now, but you sort of set a summoning pool. I can't remember what the hell these do. When I read it earlier, I was like, yeah, I know what that is, and now I actually have to explain it. I don't know. Um, Hang on, let me just
Why
explain
do
it
you get
to
to
you.
the Steam Deck stuff then? What do
Yeah.
you don't even
Oh, there
know
we
what
go. So a summoning pool, you can sort of use it to find summoning signs. They've made some tweaks to that. They've added the new inventory features, so that when you get an item now, a new item, before you'd have to just be like, "What was the name of that?" and scroll through and try and find it. Now there's like an exclamation mark. There's a new tab in the inventory called Recent Items, so you can see the items you've picked up recently, um, and you can go in and sort of change some of those things around if you want to. Also, during the final boss, you can now ride the horse um, around in the arena, which people were quite annoyed about before because it's sort of like a great big boss and you're just running around for a lot of it. So now you can summon the horse, which is also very good. There's also some other like tweaks of the weapons and things like that, balancing stuff. Some for PvP, some for sort of general gameplay, and some bug fixes, which it's nice. But the big thing this does for the Steam Deck is make the game for some people unplayable. So the Elden Ring account, after they've sort of released these patch notes on Twitter, had to go up with a follow up tweet, which was this. It said, "A Steam Deck related issue has been identified, and a hot fix is being worked on. Leaving your Steam Deck inactive for more than 5 minutes may stop the game from accepting inputs. We apologise for the inconvenience. The date and time of the hotfix will be announced separately." Now, doesn't sound like a huge thing, but if you put the game down to go get a drink, it's not a game you can pause. The thing with like these Souls-like games is they're always on, and that's not usually a problem. You get yourself somewhere safe, you leave it there, you go off and have your drink or use the toilet or whatever. Come
or
back to the
you
game,
put
it's
your
waiting
Steam Deck
for
in
you.
sleep mode before, right? Like
Yeah, I don't actually know whether that fully pauses the game, but I'm sure it must do. But yeah, if you leave it inactive for more than 5 minutes, the game stops working. You'd have to probably hard quit out. So it's not a huge problem that one. It is a problem because it means you're
It
going to have to be
it
constantly
could be
worried that
though. It could be
yeah,
based on timing, right? Because it's like,
mm,
if it's been because like, I would say again in most games that feature, some kind of like auto save functionality, right? Like it's probably wouldn't be that big of a deal. But in Elden Ring, I mean, that could really mess you up if you if it's been a while since you saved, if you just beat a big boss, or something like that, and then
Well,
you go to the bathroom and leave it inactive long enough, and then you get locked out, like that would
so
really stink.
here's the thing people don't realize about Souls games and Elden Ring. Even though you have to rest specifically at the things and like if you die, you have to go back and get your stuff. The game saves pretty constantly. Like it's
Oh, really?
constantly
Okay.
saving. Yeah, yeah. There is no point where like a game has crashed or whatever, and I have lost anything really because it is constantly saving. Every
Okay,
single thing
good.
you do is saved. So that's good. But it is just annoying that if you leave it, you're screwed, right? And that's right before the DLC is about to come out. There's no real date for the hot fix. But that's not the only problem that's come up. See, because I was looking at this up on the Steam Deck subreddit, trying to get an idea of sort of anyone's had this problem or anything like that. I saw there's actually another problem that's happening, which I'm going to pull up now. This comes from Reddit user Diversity. Okay, diversity. Yeah, nice.
I love when I have to read a Reddit person like user's name
Mhm.
on the show, and I do that so often where it's like I read it like it's some like I'm trying to read it like it's a person's name and it's just a word,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah. Well, this is spelt strangely, but still. Anyway, so they've said, "Has anybody else had the inappropriate activity detected message ever since updating the game? I can't play up online anymore." A few people are saying yes. I've looked in more deeper in the subreddit, and a few more people are also saying that they're booting the game up. They're being told that there's been inappropriate activity detected, i.e., they've been cheating or um, doing something dodgy in the back end that would would
like
affect
violate the
players on
terms of service.
multiplayer.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, anyone that would be affected by the game in multiplayer. Um, then they're just being forced offline, which for a game like Elden Ring, which is, at its core, like all these Soul games, is a multiplayer game because you are seeing what other players are up to, you're being led by these messages that other players are leaving, you are being informed by like bloodstains and things like that. You're like, what's happening here? What is this puzzle to solve? Oh, this person's trying to help me out. What are they trying to say? Like it is very much a community but thing. And when you play in offline mode, you just lose a lot of the what the game is and the charm of the game and stuff like that, which is a shame. And it seems like people that are playing on Steam Deck are booting the game up after this patch and are being forced to play offline until the hotfix comes out, which, as they've said here, that the date and time will be announced separately. Um, how long are these people gonna have to wait to be able to play the game on Steam Deck when it comes out tomorrow, right? That seems really frustrating.
It's also, especially a bummer when you think about kind of the context of the fact that, like, I know a way that a lot of people have been playing the game and enjoying it, is the seamless co-op mod, right? And it's like
Yeah.
that got attention, from software itself recently saying that it's like, it's like obviously not something that we officially support, but we think it's really cool. And it's a thing we've thought
Mhm.
about for like implementing in future games because obviously people really like playing that way. And, yeah, like, I mean, not only are you missing out on like that basic functionality of, the clues and everything that are like a core part of that experience, but
Mhm.
I mean, one of the most kind of fun, dynamic new ways to play this game is by jumping online and playing multiplayer. And especially if you're
Yeah.
like a new player who's, maybe not super initiated or whatever, right? Like I'm sure that's a way a lot of people are getting into it for the first time is like going and playing it with a friend that's maybe a little bit more experienced.
Yeah, I mean, I've been playing on with my friends online on PlayStation 5. That's the only reason I bought this game again on PlayStation 5 to play the DLC on there instead of just playing it on PC, is because they're all gonna be playing on there, and I wanna play online with them. I wanna be able to join in with bosses with them. I wanna be able to sort of start a dungeon with them and be like, "Right, let's try this dungeon out," or
Mhm.
"I'll join in your world and we'll do some exploration," and stuff like that. Um, and you lose a big chunk. I was speaking yesterday to some friends. I said, "Oh, it's more expensive for me to buy the game on PS5 plus the month of PS Online I've got to pay to do this. That costs about £40. Whereas if I just wanted to buy the DLC on on PC, it was £26. So there's like a £14 difference there,
Mhm.
um, which usually you just be like, "I'll go where the money goes." But because the multiplayer stuff is such a core part of the experience, and being able to just like summon in strangers online and like just get some help if you need it and all that stuff is such a core part of the experience that I wouldn't want to miss out on it, even though it's going to cost me more money. Because that's where my friends are. That's where I'm going to be playing. That's where they're all going to be playing, and I want to be able to sort of just hop on with them and dick around for a bit.
Which, I mean, I guess
Um,
speaks to what a problem this is, right? For the
yeah,
players who
yeah,
are affected is that, it's like such a core part of these Souls games, right? Or, at least the FromSoft Souls games, right? Is like
yeah.
the community element of it and like the
Hmm.
conversation that you have with other players, like through playing.
Hmm.
And it's like such a shame. And to your point, right? It's like this would be awful at any time, considering that Elden Ring is like consistently one of the most popular games on Steam Deck. But like
Yeah,
the day before the DLC that everyone's been waiting for 2 years is like, "Oh my
yeah,
god." If I was one of these players, I would be so heartbroken right now, you know? It's like, that's so upsetting.
yeah. I'm sure that it was possibly out of their control, and that they've, you know, didn't think to leave it for 5 minutes when they were testing it on the Steam Deck or whatever. I'm sure that maybe they
Mistakes
didn't.
happen, right? Like, it's like,
They do. Yeah,
I'm not
yeah, yeah.
sitting here, like, saying, like, you know, From Software, like, effed up or whatever, and it's like, obviously,
Hmm.
they made a mistake, and it sucks. If I was a player affected by this, you could bet your ass I'd be upset, right? But, like, you know, it is one of those things that, like, can happen, and I think as long as they are actively working on it and, like, can come up with a solution in hopefully in a expedited fashion, right? Like,
Yeah,
that's, I think, gonna be the thing is, like, if this is still a problem tomorrow, that's bad, right? But it's not, like, end of the world, right? But it's like, if it's still a problem, like, a week from now, 2 weeks from now, like,
hmm,
that's gonna leave a really sour taste in people's mouths, and
it
that
is.
sucks
Yeah,
because, I think aside from this, right, like, Elden Ring has had a mostly, you know, a really, really smooth launch, and
oh, absolutely.
there's
Yeah.
been very, very little to complain about, right? And
Yeah, the fact that the
it's a
patch
shame.
notes are for 1.12, like, after 2 years of fixes and now DLC, that's you're not even in, like, 1.2 or anything like that, you're in 1.12. Like, there must have been so few patches because they just took the time to do it right the first time.
Mhm.
I'm just looking now under this tweet, and a few people have responded saying, "Won't let me online with Steam Deck." Someone says, "It's not just 5 minutes of inactivity, I actually had the controls crap out on me mid-boss." So they're sort of playing the game, and then the game has stopped.
Yeah, like,
Um
that's so tough in a game like
Mm,
this, right? Like, if this is, like, a boss you've been working on for hours and you're, like, you're finally having a good run and then, like, the controls just stop working, it's like,
yeah.
come on, right? Like, nobody wants that experience.
Yeah, yeah, it's just it's a shame they've not given themselves enough time by releasing 1.2 any earlier than today, I guess. But maybe you're worried about data miners and stuff like that being able to get into it once they've done that.
I guess,
Um,
yeah, it's tough to say, right? Like, you imagine we'll probably have some understanding of what caused this at some point, right? Like,
mhm.
whether it's, I probably wouldn't expect necessarily, like, an official confirmation, but I wouldn't be surprised if some, eagle-eyed user is able to figure out, like, what caused the problem, but yeah, it's definitely the kinda thing where when you're worried about leaks and you've had this, like, DLC so close to your chest for, like, 2 years, right? I understand wanting to not spoil the moment, but, like,
Absolutely,
man,
yeah.
this really spoils the moment for all those players that were, like, wanting to jump in yesterday like you did and, like, start playing again and get their chops back up and get ready to
Mhm.
download it at midnight, and it's like, now for a lot of those people, that just might not be an option, and,
Especially
hope
if the deck is their only sort of option. I'm very lucky that I could play on PlayStation 5, or if I was having this problem with Steam
right.
Deck, I'd boot it up on PC, and if I wanted to play it, handheld, I could then stream it to that, yada, yada, yada. I have these options, but if you just have the Steam Deck and you just play this game on Steam Deck, you are, you know, right to be frustrated. And hopefully this is something that, fingers crossed, that by the time this episode goes out in 12 hours' time, the patch is already out. People are waking up, playing the DLC, and everyone's happy. But I am worried that tomorrow's a Friday. We're approaching a weekend. I know
Yeah.
that I don't know what the culture is with crunch in Japan. Like, are they going to be like, well, we have to get this done, or are Steam Deck users going to be
I
out of
would
luck for a weekend?
I
Who
wouldn't
knows?
be surprised if they're working through the weekend to fix this
Hmm.
because it's such a, like, you just don't want this problem to be a thing that
Absolutely,
people
yeah.
are talking about instead of talking about how sick the DLC is that they've been waiting
Exactly,
for, you
yeah.
know? It's like such an event, especially in, like, a year that hasn't had a ton of big blockbuster releases that, have come out and, like, set everybody on fire, like, yeah, like this is a moment people have been waiting for, and you hate to have this cloud hanging over it, you know?
Yeah, and I'm really excited. I'm ready to when we finish recording here, and we've sort of done what we need to do. I'm going to probably head down and beat the boss, get myself ready, save in front of the DLC area, and tomorrow when I go home from work, I'm going to be in fact, there's a burger place that travels around. It's like a van, or it's like a horse box, I guess. He drives around on the back of his van, and he goes to various places in my sort of like county. And tomorrow he's in my village. I've pre-ordered this food. I'm going to get this fat burger, these like really nice fries. I'm going to this place to pick it up. I'm coming down,
What a
and I'm
whimsical
gonna
day you have ahead of you.
oh, and I'm gonna be getting my dual sense controller absolutely covered in gack as I enjoy this delicious burger, play some Elden Ring, and just really really dive in. I'm really
Sounds
excited for
great.
this.
Sounds great, man. Well, I'm happy for you. I'm glad that you are playing it on PlayStation and don't have to worry about this.
Yes, yeah.
And if y'all want to hear Max's thoughts about Elden Ring's DLC, he'll have at least partial review in progress, we'll say,
Oh yeah, we'll be
on the Flip Screen Games podcast next week. So make sure you
we'll
go
be
check that
talking
out.
about this next week. Absolutely, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm locked in basically. Yeah.
Love that. So
The next thing. Oh, go on, no, go on. I
I
wasn't gonna
was
do anything fancy. I was just gonna talk.
no, you were gonna jump into the next thing here.
I was gonna jump into the next
Well,
thing. Yeah,
before
yeah,
we
yeah.
do that, I'm going to remind you
All
that
right.
this episode of the Steam Deck podcast is brought to you by our Patreon producers for the month of June. They are, of course, Arnold J. Rimmer, Christopher Valens, Gabriel Hasselmeyer, aka Sobe, Snack and Go, Steve Stompy, Susan Likes Cats and also Boobies, Ty the Dude, Voodoo Vic, and Waka Hula. Thank you all so much for your support over on patreon.com/flipscreengames. You all the reals to the real, and we greatly appreciate your support of this and all of our sister shows. Remember, if you want to go and show your support just like they did, if you want to go check out our sister shows, Nintendo Noise and the Flip Screen Games podcast, if you want to go and check out all the ways you can get involved in the community, including writing in for the Steam docket, you can do all that and much more by heading over to flipscreen.games. That's our website where you will find links to all the places we are all over the web and all the ways that you can get involved in the community. However you choose to do that, thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Steam Deck podcast. Max, what's up next?
So this is like a positive followed by a negative, right? Which I guess the last one was as well. No Rest for the Wicked in early access on Steam. Big new game from Moon Studios, who made Ori and the Will of the Wisps, Ori and the Blind Forest. Really great game. I've played sort of a bunch of it in early access. As of today, the game is Steam Deck verified. Woohoo! Everyone's happy
Yay!
because that sort of like
Yay!
means that Ben, who remember Ben who was on the show, listeners might remember he came on to talk about how he'd come from console to Steam Deck. One of the games that made him do that was No Rest for the Wicked. It came out early access. He was like, I want to play this game. How do I do that? I buy a Steam Deck and that's that. However, I always found, and the reason it wasn't verified for me is that whenever I tried to play it on Steam Deck, it was borderline unplayable. It like runs at like 25 FPS, 30 FPS or whatever. And that's on like I've turned all the settings down as low as I possibly can. I was getting like huge lag spikes when I'm moving between areas, like it's loading things in and it's like crashing, and it's just like not what you want from like a challenging game that's sort of like based on timing and it's
Right.
a Souls like essentially, but like a top down action RPG. So every time they've done a patch, it has said, "Oh, we've improved performance on lower end hardware." I know that the lead developer, Thomas Mailer, I think his name is, he has played the game on his ROG Ally. Friend of mine plays the game on Ally, but I've never been able to get it running well on the deck. Anyway, now the game um, is Steam Deck verified. I thought that might have changed, but there's no patch to go along with it, and
Uh-oh.
it's still and it's but it's and I've tried it, and it still runs at this the like it's blurry as all hell. The graphic settings are all the way down. It's at like 30%, 40% render scaling. It looks like trash, and it's running at 30 FPS, and it's shaky. I thought this maybe was mine, but I've been on Reddit and people are saying it still runs awfully. Um, I can't get it to run at 30 FPS. All this stuff, right? Um, I had a look at this to try and see, like, because I remember when the verification doesn't necessarily mean runs how you want it to. It just has a bunch of things that mean verification. But one of these things that has a tick next to it, when you click on the more information on its verification, It says this game's default graphics configuration performs well on the Steam Deck. Now, that is a lie. Doesn't do that. Not even my massively hampered, you know, bottom of the barrel configuration runs well on the Steam Deck. I could get Helldivers 2 running at 45 FPS with enough tweaking, and this just isn't there. So I just don't understand what we've had this conversation many, many times. What the hell does verification mean? In fact, one of these comments on here says verification continues to mean less and less. Absolutely do not buy it if your intention is to play it primarily on deck. And I agree with that. I've never recommended this to anyone to play on deck. I don't think I've spoken about it on this show because I don't recommend anyone
Right,
plays it on
because
the
of that
deck.
reason. Yeah,
Um,
I feel like the thing that I have realized is that I find it interesting because I think there are a lot of games that we've all talked about, right, that are not technically Steam Deck verified, but run excellently on Steam
Mhm.
Deck, and they lose out on verification because of like a weird technicality of like, oh, like you might like some of the text is hard to read, or you need to press
yeah.
the Steam X button to bring up a keyboard or whatever, and it's like,
Yeah. You might need physical input, like touch the screen instead of
right.
anything else. Yeah.
And it's like to me that is so it's so weird games like I think of a game like Multiversus, right, which just came
Mhm.
back. Like since launch, that game has always run exceptionally well on Steam Deck. It's never been Steam Deck verified. Um and yet I feel like and I would love for folks in the comments to maybe give me some examples that don't follow this trend if you think maybe I'm being unfair. But I feel like when it comes to AAA games or indie games from like big name studios or creators that like have cachet, they get
Mhm.
Steam Deck verified even when their games don't work. Like we had this
As a
exact
marketing tactic, you
yeah,
mean?
we had this
Yeah,
exact
yeah.
same conversation with The Last of Us when it like that was like on the deck verified page, and then it was a famously a game that didn't run, and it's like not even just on Steam Deck, right? It was just like a bad PC port that needed to be fixed. And, you know, um, to me, this feels more indicative of the fact that they want, no rest for the wicked to get placement on the Steam Deck store page
Mhm.
because it's a game that has um some weight behind it because it's made by the creators of Ori, right? And it's a game
Yes,
that,
yeah.
will probably eventually run fine on Steam Deck and will maybe be one of the best sellers on it long term or whatever, who knows? But um yeah, I mean, and I hate to like I don't like to have conspiratorial kind of like opinions like that. I don't like
Mhm.
to just throw stuff like that out on a podcast because I just think it's bad reporting. It's bad radio, right? But like this is one of those things where it feels like, how many times do we need to get burned by this before we admit that there's some fire here, right? Like there are lots of games that get deck verified that very much do not run properly, and more often than not it's because, or at least, the pattern that I've noticed, right, is that it's a game that has a good amount of marketing behind it.
Yeah. I would like to throw on my own,
Tinfoil hat.
tinfoil hat, but like a positive one, like a defensive one on their side.
Okay. Okay.
'Cause it's very the fact that this hasn't actually been announced, I've just seen this, that someone's noticed this. It's not actually been announced properly on, like, their Twitter or anything like that. There's no, like, "We're verified" fanfare. It just is, and it's new.
Okay.
It was noticed by, sorry, hang on, PCguide.com, I
Well, I
believe,
want
is
to
the
be
ones that
clear.
noticed it.
I'm not criticizing the developer
No, no,
for
no,
like
no,
putting their
no, no,
thumb
no.
on the scale. I'm saying that I think that Valve is not necessarily holding
Yeah, yeah,
those
yeah.
games to the same standard.
Well, this is why I'm defending everyone here.
Okay.
What could
Cool.
possibly have happened is that they've not announced it because it's not ready to be announced, and that maybe what we're actually getting is patch 3, big patch, improves the Steam Deck, but they've just put the verification out early because maybe there's a whole process you have to go through, and they've done that. Maybe what we're gonna see tomorrow is the announcement of verification alongside a patch that makes that possible. Maybe that's the case. We saw when
I
when
hope so.
we got the scoop, you could say, that Tales of Kenzera Zao was Steam Deck verified. That appeared on their Steam page a week before we got to actually announce it. we announced it, and that's when they announced it after it'd been on our show. We put it out. They announced that on their Twitter, on their socials. Hey, don't you know this game's Steam Deck verified? Here's the whole conversation with the Steam Deck podcast. So this is something that maybe is not such a quick Valve turn that on because Valve are doing it on their end.
Yeah,
Maybe
that's a
the
good
patch was
point.
supposed to come out today and Valve had already pressed the button on it. Maybe you can't click the button, Valve has to click the button, and therefore there's a differentiator.
Sure.
My tinfoil hat in
Yeah.
the positive, because I do feel like it is a line. I do feel like currently, if you bought that game based on that and you played it in the state it's in now, you would go, "This is a lie. This doesn't work." And I'm disappointed that they've done this because I've been waiting to be able to. Every time a patch comes out, or when I got the preview for 3.5, 3.6, and it said that it improves game performance, so I was like, "I'm going to check this out. I'm going to update No Rest for the Wicked. I'm gonna go and do what I wanted to do, which was like go through the Crucible." And by the time I got halfway there, I was like, I just can't do that. This is unplayable. I cannot play this because I will die, and the things aren't loading in properly. And I moved it specifically. I moved it off my SD card to the um, SSD. I did everything I possibly could to make it run. It's just not happening. So yeah, hopefully my complete made up scenario is true because I would like for this game to be verified and that for that to be truthful and for people to be able to confidently buy this game and play it. Because I do think it's a great game. I think that what's currently there, I got about 25 hours out of it. That was just one playthrough with one character. There's sort of they keep adding to the game. There's new uh, there's a whole lot randomly generated crucible that's evolving. There's multiple characters. There's respecking. There's all these like things that they're adding to the game that sort of make you want to go in and play it. But it's just I want to be able to do that on my Steam Deck. Um, so yes, that's my soapbox on this game. Over.
Yeah, I hope you're right. I would hate to see this be like another example of a game that is a good, fun game that then gets a reputation of not running well and then has
Yeah,
to kind of live that down, you know?
yeah,
So
yeah. We don't
fingers
want to see an
crossed.
apology. We don't want to see an apology. We want to see a
Yeah,
celebration.
absolutely. Absolutely. Especially a game
Yeah,
like this that like, by all accounts is already fun, right? It's like
yeah.
you don't want to like have people who are like excited to jump on, have that negative experience and then kind of like bounce because they feel burned,
Hmm.
and rightfully so.
I think so. Speaking of people being burned and rightfully earned apologies,
Wonderful
there
segue.
was, thank you very much. There was something that caught my eye yesterday as I was on. I've unplugged my headset. I'm really sorry. One second. I've
Oh
just
my
that
god.
was my foot.
The perfect he tees up this perfect segue. He
Oh no.
unplugs. Oh my gosh, They don't gotta deal with this
Oh
this kinda
no.
lack of here's the thing. I'm sitting here talking shit about your lack of professionalism. I was just about to say they don't gotta deal with this over at IGN. My cell phone starts ringing. So, we're quite a pair today.
As I was saying,
We're back.
we're back. Something caught my eye on Twitter where someone had said that DeckHD have basically been seemingly abandoned. Do you remember DeckHD? It was the 1200p or maybe 1080p, 120 hertz screen replacement that you could do for the Steam Deck. I think it wasn't an OLED screen. I think it was just like it had a higher uh, color sort of ratio and it was more vibrant
Yeah,
basically.
I can't remember if it was an OLED screen, but it was a more vibrant screen, and one of the big, kind of points of contention about it was not only did you have to do a custom install on this screen, but that to keep it up to date, it had a custom firmware that needed to be updated from the manufacturer. And this is one
Yeah.
of the things that at the time, I remember, we were kind of criticizing them for, or criticizing it as something that would be a viable product because, well, what happens if they stop supporting it? What happens if you run into some kind of issue with your screen and it won't
Yeah.
turn on and then they don't get back to you? And here we
Yeah.
are seeing that exact same kind of problem, only the product hasn't even shipped yet.
Yeah, well, I think some people have got it early. There were some early ones that have gone out. Obviously, the Steam Deck OLED came out and ate their lunch, and I think a lot of people at
Right.
DeckHD, people were worried about their Deck HD that they'd bought, and DeckHD came out and said, "Oh, look, we're still doing what we're doing." People were saying that these two products can run concurrently, and that is true. They can. People might not want to be, buy another Steam Deck and just get rid of their current one, and then add to e-waste. They want to sort of support the thing they've already got. Um, However, we've seen this week Twitter user by the name Nico Bolas tweeted DeckHD and said, DeckHD have turned their back on their user base. They've ignored customers and users, still take orders while providing no comms. They've stopped all operations and provided no refunds or info. Avoid any projects these people work on in the future, they are scammers. And there's like the pictures are sort of key people at DeckHD, many of whom haven't tweeted in you know one person who hasn't tweeted in a year. Their last tweet was they retweeted DeckHD from last June, so that's been an entire year. One of them hasn't tweeted. A developer hasn't tweeted in 2 years. They maybe don't use Twitter. That's fine. But if if you're someone actively engaging in these in your product, you want to be there, right?
Well, it's one of
Um,
those things where it's like, it's fine if you don't use Twitter, but when you have official channels where people are reaching out for customer support and they're not hearing back, and then they're reaching out to you through unofficial channels and you're
mhm.
not responding, you're not a publicly available figure anymore. While you're also being like, yeah, I work on this thing, is like, yeah, like that's super suspect, of course,
Yeah,
right?
it really is. Yeah, yeah, because especially considering there have been the risks. So this tweet was followed up with by Steam Deck HQ, a website that said that people were questioning if anything could do blah blah. There's a load of fluff about what this new Deck HD is, and then they said here that there have been some issues, some purchases seem to believe the project may have been abandoned. According to users on the DeckHD Discord server, there have been a lot of people who purchased the screen within the last month and a half and have heard no updates regarding their orders. On top of that, almost all of the support tickets that were submitted went silent, making people worried about their products and whether they were ever going to get them. It got so bad that a lot of individuals started thinking it was an abandoned project. However, that doesn't seem to be the case because today they finally reached out to everyone and say, we're announcing a shipping delay. We want to sort of so that the community
Yeah, and
manager has said,
thought very funny, right? That they replied to, Nico's original tweet, right? And it's like, okay, cool. You're gonna reply to this person who's like calling you out, right? And this is the first time you're mentioning it, you know?
yeah,
And he even says that, right? They say we're experiencing shipping delays due to a recent warehouse move. Orders will be shipped within 1 to 2 weeks. Apologies for the inconvenience. Thank you for your patience and support. And Nico's reply was, if you knew these delays were happening, why didn't you inform customers in the community? You've kept quiet about it for months now while customers have gone unanswered. This is a hollow response. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
If you go on their Twitter account now, you will see the last time they tweeted was in April 16th. They congratulated a giveaway winner. April 10th was the giveaway. April 1st, March 29th, and then there's just nothing about any of this. It took this person tweeting and complaining for them to come back and say it. They said it as if like it was a given. Oh, we're experiencing these delays, but people have been asking for months what's going on.
And it's like they
So the
still haven't made an official announcement, right? Like you
Well,
said,
they
like,
have in Discord.
sure, but
Their
that's not the
community
same
manager,
thing.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So their
It's
community
like
manager said, "Dear DeckHD community, we want to address the recent delays in shipping. Our warehouse recently relocated, which has caused some unexpected challenges in our shipping procedures. Current status: shipping delays due to the move, which no one knew was happening. There have been delays in processing and shipping orders. Why are you taking orders? Rest assured, everything will be shipped out as soon as possible, around 1 to 2 weeks."
several things wrong with that. First of
Hmm.
all, why are you still taking orders if that's the
Yeah,
case? Two, if you knew that you were going to move warehouses, why didn't you communicate that
yeah.
prior to this so that people would know that there was going to be a shipping delay?
Or when you're at the point of buying, it should say, "We are experiencing a shipping delay of 1 to 2 weeks due to this," and then people can actually make an informed purchasing decision.
Three, there is no mention of that on any other official channel, and the
Mhm.
idea that you would do it on a Discord, that's fine for, like, your most activated users, right? Like, it's reasonable to announce things in a Discord, especially if it's, like, something private, right? Where it's like, "Oh, like, we're gonna have some kinda competition, we're giving you early announcement, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that." If that was the only place they announced a giveaway, that would be fine, right? But for major updates about your product,
Mhm.
okay, fine. Even if we're gonna accept maybe they abandoned Twitter, Twitter's become very controversial, maybe they all moved away from it. That would be reasonable. Why isn't it on their website? I'm on the website right now. I clicked buy now, and it says add to cart in stock, shipping in 7 working days. That's a
Uh,
lie. That is a
yeah.
fucking lie. And it's
Yeah.
insane that they're advertising it that way. And then again, I can go to their website and I can go to their Twitter, which, by most metrics, is the social media channel you would expect to have an official announcement like this on,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
That's
It's a list of
societally
things.
accepted. And the
Yeah.
idea that there's no mention of that, there's not a banner on their website, there's not a blog post, nothing. That is
Mhm.
bullshit, right? Like that
Yeah.
is a total non-response. It is totally them covering their ass for being called out for exactly what they're doing, which is
Yeah.
exactly what we were afraid was going to happen when they announced this stupid product in the first place.
Yeah.
I
And
would
may I
be
remind the
so mad if I was one of those people.
I would too. May I remind the listeners we are halfway through this this announcement as well. So the second half of the announcement goes on to say, due to various business decisions, our customer support capacity is currently limited. We apologize for any inconvenience this may cause and appreciate your patience.
Business
We will
decisions.
still, yeah, right. What does that mean? We
They
will
laid a
still
bunch of
fulfill all
people off. Like you
warranties.
said, when they announced the OLED Steam Deck, they're like,
Yeah,
our product is worthless.
yeah, yeah. We now, yeah. The best. What you should now do is become a company that supports the existing product, not a company that sells new product. However, I
Mhm.
can understand that is an expensive thing to do, but you've committed to that by selling this product that is based on. I mean, I guess they're not. There's nothing in the contract that says they have to support this forever. We've seen this recently with Spotify had the car thing. They
Yeah.
released a final patch to that kills it. The final patch, if you install it, stops it working. Spotify is saying do this and then dispose of it. Dispose. Like, you paid for this.
Wait,
Here's
really?
two. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They've sent the final patch out, kills it. It's not like a. It's not like
Why doesn't the final patch just let you keep using it indefinitely? What are you kidding me?
right. Yeah, doesn't do that. It just kills it. It's very the opposite of what Google did with the Stadia controller, where it's like, here's
Now it's
here's the
just a
Bluetooth
controller.
update. Now it's a Bluetooth controller. Enjoy it. This very much is we have turned this into e-waste. I'm sorry if you were enjoying using this thing that should, in theory, just talk to your phone. It's a Bluetooth thing for your phone that displays Spotify. This should
It's a
still work.
speaker, right? Like it's
Yeah.
yeah, like
Yeah,
it's a
well, no, so that connects to your car. So it connects the
yeah,
phone connects to
it's
the
like
car,
a
gives you an interface.
right. It's like a
Um,
it's a fancier version of like that old school like you'd get the tape deck with the aux out, you know?
yeah, 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 yeah. It's just got the Spotify stuff on it. So yeah, so this is very much
So shitty.
that sort of. This could very much be that sort of thing where eventually, I don't think they're going to outside release a patch that kills DeckHD. But if they decide they don't want to update it anymore, support it anymore, you've lost out. And this is a product they're still currently selling and not shipping. And everyone that puts this in their Steam Deck then has to, you know, is potentially ruining their Steam Deck forever.
Mhm.
They're, this is yeah. Um, this continue. This article continues actually. That says there have been some worrisome repercussions for voicing worry into the server. I can confirm that one user, this is their Discord server, who was helping me ask others about their Deck HD situation was banned. While no direct reasoning was provided to him, I was told that he violated server rules and was starting arguments out of nowhere. From my time
Mm.
researching this, I did not see any deliberate arguments that he had started, and he was helpful in figuring out who had been affected by this lapse in communication. I have asked about specific examples of this user's conduct and have yet to see a response, which
Shocking.
is really shocking, right?
Shocking
It's
behavior, right?
silencing like it's killing the whistleblower, right? It's like someone's
Yeah.
coming to, is anyone else suffering this, and they get kicked out.
And
It
trying to,
continues
like,
on.
help people organize and figure out what was happening. It's like,
Yeah,
"Uh-oh, better
exactly.
squash that," right? Like,
Exactly.
Jesus, man.
It continues on even further to say there have also been some worrying and seemingly aggressive messages from the staff in response to this. Specifically, Francisco, I don't know who this person is, on the server responded regarding this user's ban. Some of the responses were worrisome, including mentioning they were always watching Discord, yet not responding to the people who are wondering why their support tickets aren't being answered or why product isn't being delivered. Oh, I'm always watching people complain. I'm not doing anything about it, is what they've essentially said there. There were some back and forth messages, but a couple that stood out to me were accusing this individual of bringing pitchforks.
Real quick,
Uh,
I just wanna so for the audio listeners, when you're switching between your commentary, say "quote unquote" when you go back to the quote, because 'cause
oh
you're doing
yeah,
that for
good
the
point.
YouTube people, but for the podcast listeners, they need that.
Sorry, yeah, 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 fine, yeah, good point. Um, they're not giving any straight answer about the rule that the individual broke. So basically, also, they also have said that the Discord server is not a support platform, though it is listed under the support on the DeckHD website. So
What is your
basically,
Discord if not a support platform
yeah,
when you sell
exactly,
a product? Right? You're not like a it's like it's you're not a podcast, that you're not a video
yeah.
game developer. It's not like this isn't we're just congregating to talk about the screen. No, we're here to get fucking assistance. Like, that's insane. That is an insane claim, let alone
Yeah,
that it contradicts what's on their website, right? That's a whole
yeah,
other kettle of fish. But yeah, like, oh my God. Imagine stepping on this many rakes and not just taking literally any level of accountability.
yeah. At
It's
no point have
so
they.
wild how they're just trying yeah, this is totally normal. I don't know why you guys are being so weird about this. It's like,
Yeah,
bro, like, just be real for a second here. Come on. Like, you are currently holding out on product that you seemingly do not have the, like, uh, you know, staff like required
yeah.
to deal with these tickets to get things shipped out. Like, clearly the company is like in a free fall and you're just not admitting it because you don't want to be left with the bag and get sued because that's
Mhm.
probably where this is going, right? If they're not
Yep.
able to you know, kind of get it together and start, fulfilling these orders and, you know, being able to create plausible deniability for these things that are
Yeah.
being claimed, like, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they get sued.
To show this level of disdain for the customers who are supporting you when they have no reason to, because the better, the product that you've created is no longer relevant. Like it has been improved upon by Valve themselves in a way that doesn't require you to just constantly wait for them to release patches so you can use the damn thing. Like you think you'd be like kissing their feet and going, "Thank you so much for supporting us. We really appreciate you." Not like hostility and ignoring them and avoidance and stuff like that. It's just it just speaks to a small team maybe that is frustrated with the way things have gone. I understand why they'd be frustrated with that, but at
Yeah,
some
it's
point you just
tough.
have to just stop selling product if you don't have product to give or you aren't able to do it, or if you're going to commit to the taking money part, you need to commit to the updating part and all that sort of stuff. So
Yeah,
that's
this easily could have been a thing where if they just handled it in a way that was mature and respectful to their customers, that like you'd understand what happened and be like, damn, like
mhm,
that sucks, right? Like, yeah, like I bought a product that is now kind of worthless. You're selling a product that's now kind of worthless. Sucks, but hey, that's where we are, right? But
yeah,
to be in this position and then to kind of aggressively start pivoting away from it because obviously you need to, but like still taking money, still taking sales, not communicating with those customers that are like reaching out asking for help is like just shitty. It's like even if you were like we're overwhelmed by the amount of tickets we're getting to make you could make a statement about that, right? Like you could have some level of accountability and transparency and people would be I think more willing to, you know, give them rope. But it's like this just feels expletive or exploitative, excuse me.
yeah, yeah. I agree. Yeah, all round, just like a bad situation. Hopefully, one that they then come out again after this sort of the heat they're getting, and they actually say, "Yeah, we messed up. Sorry about that. Here's what we're going to do. Here's like at least a plan that have paid for this, or like some sort of way to I don't know, some sort of way to make it right." But I didn't expect this to be a product we ever spoke about again, let alone in a negative way. Um,
I thought
so
if we ever spoke about it again, it would be in a negative way, and it would be
just it
not
shut down.
not exactly this, but yeah, that it had shut
Yeah,
down
yeah.
and that they were gonna end support for it, and now a bunch of people were stuck, not that there were people still waiting to get this thing that is useless,
Yeah, yeah,
and that
yeah.
they can't cancel their orders, they can't get support, like, it's like, that's nuts?
Yeah. Yep, I agree. But yeah. Let me give us one last little tidbit for the day. Breaking news. Probably lots of
Breaking
people listening.
news!
Breaking news.
Oh my god.
Breaking as of mere minutes ago.
What a day!
Ubisoft I know. Ubisoft has announced that Beyond Good and Evil 20th Anniversary Edition will be released for PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Series S, Series X, Nintendo Switch, and PC via
Interesting.
the Ubisoft Store, Epic Game Store, and Steam on June 25th, 2024.
The original just
There's
got taken down from Steam yesterday, right?
So they're
There you
releasing a
go.
brand new version of that. It's a 4K resolution, 60 FPS, improved graphics controls, a new reorchestrated soundtrack,
Cool.
auto save feature, cross saving. There's new speed run mode, skip cutscenes, controller and keyboard and mouse support, new achievements. So basically, the definitive version of um, Beyond Good and Evil. There's also apparently an exclusive new mission that reveals a narrative link to Beyond Good and Evil 2. So the game still exists. That game still exists.
You
I
sure
think
about
I
that?
apparently so. I've never played Beyond Good and Evil, but I think I might check this one out. I think I'm going to do it.
Yeah, I'd like to as
Um,
well. This is a gap for me, and it
yeah,
always seemed like my kind of game, but I was like a little young for it when it came out.
yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think this is my game,
Cool.
my
Well,
kind
there
of
you
game,
go.
rather I say. So yeah, breaking news.
What a
It's going to be
week. What a
12
week,
hours
Max.
old by the time. What a week, hey?
Hey, here we are.
Here we are.
Look at
Look at
us.
us.
Sharing one brain cell today. Thank you guys so much for joining us here in another episode of the Steam Deck Podcast. If you want to write in and let us know your thoughts on Elden Ring's broken state on Steam Deck, on your thoughts about what Steam Deck verification even means at this point, or your thoughts on the DeckHD debacle, hopefully all of you took our advice a year and change ago and never bought one of these things, and we can all, uh, you know, send our thoughts out to those affected, and hopefully it's not hurting anybody in our house. That's my hope. But
Hmm.
yeah, thank you guys for joining us on another one of these guys. If you want to get involved, you want to write in, you want to check out our sister shows, Nintendo Noise and the Flip Screen Games podcast. Guess what? There's a bunch of ways you can do that. Head over to flipscreen.games. That's the website where you will find links to all the places we are all over the web. However you choose to get involved, going over there is the best way to show your support and check out the rest of the cool stuff that we're doing here. I hope that you'll go and show your support however you choose to do so. Thanks for tuning into the show again today. For the crew, I've been Pete. He's been Max. We'll see you next week.